On the evening of May 8, 2025, Buckingham Palace stood bathed in the golden hues of a fading sunset, its honeyed stonework glowing softly against a sky streaked with amber and violet. The air cool with the scent of blooming roses from the palace gardens, and the distant hum of London's evening rhythm, buses rumbling church bells, tolling a city pausing to honor history. The forecourt, framed by crimson banners and polished gravel, was a solemn stage for the 80th anniversary of VE Day, a commemoration of the Allied victory that ended World War II's European theater. The scene was alive with the mournful cadence of a military band, its brass and drums playing Abide With Me, a hymn that stirred memories of sacrifice while flags, Union Jack stars and stripes, and tricolores hung still in the calm air, their colors vivid against the twilight. Amid this sacred gathering, an 80-year-old RAF veteran, her medals gleaming on a faded coat, knelt in prayer before a royal guard. Her whispered words, a tribute to the fallen, touching the souls of all who witnessed. When the guard's silent nod answered her devotion, it sparked tears of unity, transforming a moment of reverence into a global testament to honor and memory. For those of you who felt the weight of history, been moved by quiet courage, or cherished a gesture that bridged generations, this story of Margaret's prayer and a guard's unspoken respect will resonate deeply. Join us in celebrating these moments of connection by subscribing for more tales that honor the past and inspire the present. Margaret Evans was a living archive of resilience. Her small frame stooped but steady, her hands trembling with arthritis, yet adorned with the quiet pride of service. Her silver hair, neatly pinned, framed a face etched with lines of endurance. Her blue eyes soft with memories of a life shaped by war and recovery. Born in 1945 in a terraced house in Cardiff, Wales, Margaret grew up amidst the Blitz, her childhood marked by air raid sirens and the courage of neighbors sharing tea in shelters. At 18, she joined the Women's Auxiliary Air Force WAAF, serving as a plotter in a control room near London, tracking RAF fighters during the Battle of Britain. Her steady voice guiding pilots through crackling radios, her heart racing, but her hands calm. Margaret, you're their eyes. Keep them safe. Her commanding officer had said, words that became her mantra through sleepless nights and the roar of Luftwaffe raids. After the war, she married Tom, a Spitfire mechanic, and raised two daughters in Cardiff. Her stories of service, woven into family dinners. Her medals, War Medal, 1939 to 1945 Defense Medal, polished but rarely worn, tucked in a velvet box with Tom's letters. Widowed a decade ago, Margaret found solace in VE Day ceremonies. Her faded RAF coat a badge of honor, cane a necessity, but never a surrender. On this day she arrived at Buckingham Palace with her granddaughter Sophie. 13, her goal unwavering to honor the fallen, to keep their memory alive, to pass their legacy to a new generation. Sophie, we stand for those who can't, she told her voice soft but firm, her blue eyes glistening. To you, who've carried the weight of history, perhaps through a grandparent's war stories, a memento of sacrifice, or a vow to remember Margaret's devotion, might echo a time when you felt the past's pull, when you honored those gone, when you stood tall for memory's sake. The Buckingham Palace forecourt on May 8, 2025, was a tapestry of solemnity and pride transformed into a sacred arena for the VE Day ceremony, a tribute to the victory of 1945. The air thrummed with the band's mournful notes, Abide With Me, fading into the last post. Its haunting bugle call silencing the crowd of hundreds, veterans, families, dignitaries, tourists, all gathered in reverence. Soldiers in dress uniforms stood in flawless formation, their scarlet tunics and polished boots a vision of discipline, their bayonets catching the sunset's glow. Flags fluttered softly, their shadows long on the gravel, while wreaths of poppies lay at a temporary memorial, their red petals vivid against white stone inscribed, "For victory, for peace." Veterans, their chests heavy with medals from Normandy, Burma and beyond, sat in places of honor, their faces etched with memory, their hands clasped tightly. Families filled the stands. Children in school uniforms clutching programs, their eyes wide at the pageantry, their parents whispering tales of 1945 street parties. The scent of polished brass mingled with the faint perfume of the palace's rose and lavender beds, the twilight casting a serene glow, the scene a bridge between past and present. Margaret arrived with Sophie, her RF coat faded, but proud, its blue wool worn thin. Her medals gleaming 2 stars for her service, a testament to her youth spent in war. Sophie, in a navy dress, held her grandmother's arm, her brown eyes bright with awe, her phone tucked away at Margaret's gentle request. Today we feel, not film. Margaret's heart carried decades of sacrifice, friends lost in dogfights, cities rebuilt from rubble, a nation's resilience forged in fire. Her blue eyes glistened as she scanned the crowd, her cane steady, her presence a quiet beacon of history. To you, who've stood in a moment of remembrance, perhaps at a memorial, a family grave, or a ceremony that stirred your soul. Margaret's arrival might recall when you felt history's weight, when sacrifice became real, when you honored the past with your presence. As the ceremony began with a chaplain's prayer and a choir's soft hymn, Margaret felt a pull, a need to act beyond the program's structure. The band paused, the crowd silent. The soldiers' boots stilled the air heavy with reverence. Margaret, her heart full of names, pilots. She'd guided comrades who never returned, moved slowly from her seat, her cane tapping softly on the gravel, Sophie whispering, "Nana, where are you going?" Margaret's voice was a murmur, to pray love for them. She approached a royal guard stationed at the forecourt's edge, his scarlet tunic vivid against the memorial stone, his bare skin casting a shadow, his rifle steady. She stopped before him, her knees trembling, and knelt a slow, painful motion, her ref coat brushing the gravel, her hands clasped tightly, her head bowed. "For those we lost," she whispered, her voice trembling, tears tracing her cheeks. Her prayer a soft litany for John, who fell over Dover, for Mary, in the bombed hospital, for all who gave everything. The crowd hushed their murmurs, fading, some leaning closer, others wiping tears. A man in a suit, dabbing his eyes with a handkerchief, a woman holding her breath, her hand on her child's shoulder. Guard James Carter, 26, stood motionless, his brown eyes fixed forward, his face calm, protocol binding him to silence. His heart stirred by the veteran's words, his own grandfather's D-Day stories echoing in his mind. A tourist impatient muttered, "She's holding up the ceremony." His voice sharp, a few nodding uneasily, their programs rustling. Margaret's prayer wasn't a delay, it was a tribute. Her silence, a bridge to 1945. Her tears, a testament to lives given for freedom. To you who felt a moment of reverence. Perhaps a prayer that stopped time, a gesture that honored the lost, or a tribute that silenced doubt. Margaret's kneel might recall when you stood in awe, when sacrifice spoke louder than words, when a single act carried history's weight. The crowd's reaction deepened the moment's gravity, the air thick with emotion, the sunset's glow casting long shadows. The memorial's poppies, a vivid reminder of loss. A veteran, his beret adorned with a poppy, stood slowly, his hand over his heart, his eyes wet, whispering to his wife, "She's praying for my mates." A schoolgirl about Sophie's age clutched her mother's hand, her voice soft. "Why is she crying, Mummy?" Her mother, tears falling, replied, "Because she remembers." Margaret's voice trembled her prayer, a soft plea. Each name a wound reopened John's laugh before his Spitfire fell. Mary's smile in the hospital ward, the countless faces of 1945. Her hands shook her medals, catching the light, their clink a faint echo of her service, her RAF coat a banner of her youth. The tourist's complaint drew glares, a woman in a hijab whispering, "Let her pray, she's earned it." Carter bound by protocol. No movement, no words. Only the rigid discipline of a royal guard felt Margaret's words pierce his stillness. His brown eyes softening, a flicker of recognition for the history. She carried his own training in the parachute regiment, his tours in Mali, teaching him the cost of war. The band's silence stretched the chaplain, pausing his eyes on Margaret. His nod subtle, a sign to let her moment breathe. The tension wasn't disruption, but reverence. Margaret's prayer, a spark that could either unite or fracture the ceremony's solemnity. The crowd's hearts hanging in the balance, their silence a canvas for her tribute. To you who've seen a moment of honor challenged, perhaps a tribute met with impatience, a sacrifice misunderstood, or a reverence tested by doubt. Margaret's prayer might mirror when you felt a crowd's heart divide, when a single act of devotion stood vulnerable, when memory's weight demanded respect. Carter, moved by Margaret's courage, made a choice that broke centuries of protocol. His action small, but seismic. His brown eyes softened, a single tear tracing his cheek, invisible to most, but caught by Sophie's sharp gaze. Her gasp soft. He tilted his head, a subtle nod, his bare skin dipping slightly, his face still forward, his rifle steady the gesture, a wordless salute to Margaret's sacrifice, a bridge between her war and his service. The nod was fleeting, a second at most, yet it carried the weight of history, a silent vow that her prayer was heard. Her fallen honored her courage seen. The crowd gasped, the sound a ripple, some crying openly. The man in the suit sobbing, now his handkerchief forgotten, the woman in the hijab, smiling through tears, her hands clasped. The tourist who'd muttered fell silent, his frown softening, his wife nudging him, her whisper sharp, "Show some respect." Margaret, her prayer complete, looked up, her blue eyes meeting Carter's, a flicker of gratitude in her tear-streaked face. Her lips curving into a faint smile, her hands steadying as she rose. Sophie rushing to help, her arms gentle but firm. The band resumed Jerusalem, swelling softly, its notes a balm. The soldiers' boots shifting in unison, their salute crisp, the ceremony flowing again. But its soul transformed by Margaret's kneel and Carter's nod. The veterans in the stands stood, their salute slow but proud, their medals glinting, their eyes on Margaret, a sister in arms. The chaplain, his voice warm, added, "We honor all who serve like this brave woman." His gesture to Margaret drawing applause. A thunderous wave that swept the forecourt. Tourists joining their programs raised their voices, a chorus, "Beautiful, God bless her." To you who've seen a gesture shift a moment, perhaps a nod that honored courage, a tear that united heart, a silence that spoke louder than words. Carter's nod might mirror when you witnessed respect triumph, When a quiet act answered devotion, when unity emerged from a single powerful bond, the moment unfolded like a page of history, rewritten Margaret's prayer and Carter's nod weaving a new thread into VE, day's tapestry of remembrance. Sophie, her eyes wet, hugged Margaret, her voice a whisper, Nana. You made everyone cry. Margaret, her cane steady, smiled, her AF coat a badge of pride, her reply soft. They're with us, Sophie, all of them. The crowd parted as she returned to her seat. Veterans nodding, tourists offering hands to shake Ubo, British officer in dress uniform, saluting, his voice low. Thank you, ma'am. Phones had captured it all. Margaret's slow kneel, her trembling hands, her whispered prayer. Carter's subtle nod, the crowd's tears. The veteran salutes video spreading across X, like a wildfire of reverence clips, titled Veterans Prayer Moves, Palace and God's Tier Honors Hero. Shared millions of times, hashtags. Margaret's Prayer, Silent Bond, V-Day, 25 igniting feeds from London's cafes to New York's subway cars, from Delhi's markets to Sydney's beaches. A veteran, Mr. Harold Price, 85, stood among the spectators. His RAF beret tilted, his voice thick, as he spoke to a BBC reporter. She prayed for my brothers, lost in 44. That God, he felt it too. His words caught on video, trended globally. His tearful nod, a beacon that silenced any lingering complaints. The muttering tourist, now clapping, his wife's glare softened to a smile. A few organizers whispered about protocol breaches. The guards shouldn't have moved, but their voices drowned in the crowd's applause. The veterans' salutes and X's outpouring. Margaret's our hero. Carter's nod is everything. This is why we remember. The footage, vivid in the sunset's golden glow, showed the crowd's radiant unity. Harold's tearful smile, of his gentle support. Carter's quiet grace. Margaret's boundless courage. And the tourist's humbled silence. To you, who've seen reverence unite, perhaps a tribute that moved a crowd. A gesture that shifted a moment or a time. When memory overcame doubt. Margaret and Carter's moment might recall when you felt a crowd's heart align. When a single act of honor amplified devotion. When sacrifice shone brighter than any disruption. The moment didn't fade with the ceremony's end. After the final hymn, Margaret approached Carter, now off duty. His tunic unbuttoned, his bearskin set aside, his brown eyes warm. She hugged him, her arms frail but fierce. Her voice a whisper, "Thank you, lad. You saw them with me." Carter, his face softening, smiled, his reply simple. "Your prayer honored us all, ma'am." He handed her a note handwritten on guardhouse paper. "Dear Mrs. Evans, your courage carries their memory. Thank you." Margaret read it, her eyes misting, her fingers tracing the words, her voice soft. "You're my boys, all of you." Sophie, snapping a photo, posted it on X with her mother's permission, captioned, "My Nana," and the God who cried for her prayer. The post, shared 100,000 times, sparked a wave of stories. Veterans recounting their own prayers, families sharing wartime letters, gods revealing quiet moments of connection. Carter shared Margaret's story with his unit, his voice steady in the barracks. "Respect the past, it's why we stand." His mates, young soldiers from Leeds, Glasgow and Bristol, listened. Their banter stilled their nods, a vow to honor history. Veterans at the ceremony, led by Harold Price, formed a circle around Margaret as she left, their medals shining, their voices a chorus. "You spoke for us, Margaret." She clasped their hands, her cane forgotten, her heart full. Sophie beaming at her side to you, who've built bonds through honor. Perhaps thanking a veteran, sharing a story of sacrifice, or uniting for memory's sake. This connection might mirror when you felt history's pulse. When a gesture forged friendship, when you celebrated the past as a shared vow. The videos continued to spread, exalite, with posts that amplified the moment to millions. Margaret's prayer is VE Day's soul. Carter's nod broke my heart. Comments flooded in a global chorus of awe. She carried 1945 to us. That God's tear is pure respect. This is why we honor. A campaign, Memory Lives, launched in partnership with the Royal British Legion and schools across the UK. Its mission to teach remembrance through veterans' stories, inspired by Margaret's prayer and Carter's nod. Posters appeared in libraries, community centers, and tube stations showing a veteran kneeling and a guard nodding honor the past, unite the present, in bold letters translated into Welsh Urdu and Mandarin for global reach. Schools embraced the campaign, their students writing letters to veterans, reenacting VE Day with paper, poppies, their teachers citing Margaret's courage and Carter's respect as models of memory's power. A plaque, Margaret's Prayer Corner, was proposed for Buckingham Palace's forecourt. Its design, a bronze relief of a kneeling veteran and a nodding guard, unveiled in a 2026 plan, inscribed for Margaret Evans and Guard James Carter Keepers of Memory, V-Day 2025. The announcement shared at a Veterans Gala drew thousands veterans' families, Sophie's school and Carter's unit. Their cheers a wave. Their poppies raised eggs, erupting with that Margaret's corner posts, reading, "This plaque's for every hero. Margaret and Carter forever." To you who've seen a moment spark a movement, perhaps a tribute that inspired change, a gesture that united generations, or a time when history was reshaped by heart. Margaret and Carter's story might mirror when you witnessed a spark ignite, when memory and respect wove a legacy, when sacrifice became a shared promise. Margaret returned to Cardiff, her ref coat now a local legend, her neighbors greeting her with hugs, their voices warm. "You made us proud, Marg." Sophie, inspired, started a school club, Poppy Promises, where students collected veterans' stories. Their notebooks filled with tales of 1945, their assemblies featuring Margaret's prayer, her voice recorded. "We pray for them always." Carter, back at his post, shared her story in training sessions, his voice firm. "Every veteran carries history, honor it, lads." His mates moved, began saluting veterans, passing the palace their nods, a quiet tribute. Their bearskins dipping slightly, a new tradition born. Harold Price invited Margaret to a veterans' tea, their laughter, a bond, their medals clinking as they toasted to memory. The campaign grew, its impact profound. Schools reported students more engaged with history, veterans, groups, so younger volunteers, communities hosted memory days with prayers and poppies, their posters echoing Margaret's quote and Carter's nod. Murals appeared in Cardiff, a veteran praying Coffio in Welsh. In London, a guard nodding Memory Lives. In Toronto, Honor with poppies. Ex-posts multiplied, shared Margaret's story with my class. A Glasgow teacher wrote, "Started a memory club," inspired by her. A Chicago student posted, "Prayed for my granddad because of Carter, Sydney teen." Shared, attaching a poppy photo. Churches held services, from Welsh chapels to London cathedrals. Their sermons on Margaret's courage. She showed us memory's heart. Live it. To you, who've seen communities unite, perhaps a ceremony that bonded strangers, a story that inspired, or a moment that lived beyond its day. This movement might recall when you felt history's embrace, when respect built bridges, when memory became a living flame. Carter and Margaret met again at a veterans event, their handshake warm, their bond deep. Carter his tunic off, knelt to Sophie's level, his smile soft. Your Nana's a hero, kid. Margaret, her cane steady, hugged him. You're our future, James. Sophie's photo of them trended. Silent Bond heroes users posting. This is love, this is history. The palace updated protocols, allowing guards subtle nods for veterans' tributes, dubbed Margaret's rule in memos. X celebrating guards are human now. Margaret at home. Framed Carter's note, its place beside Tom's letters. Her medals now displayed, her heart lighter. Sophie's Club grew their stories shared online veterans, visiting schools their tales of 1945 alive in young voices. The campaign spread globally schools in Berlin, teaching memory, with Margaret's prayer communities in Lagos, hosting Puppy Days murals in Delhi Yad with stars. A BBC documentary, Prayer at the Palace, aired, featuring Margaret's kneel, Carter's nod, Sophie's pride, its viewership, soaring its message clear. Memory unites us. For you who've honored the past, perhaps with a prayer for the lost, a nod to a veteran or a moment that kept history alive. Margaret and Carter's story is a call to stand with gratitude, to let memory live in your actions, to honor sacrifice with love. Share your story. Have you remembered the fallen united through respect, honored history's heart? Subscribe for more tales of heart and memory, and join us in raising awareness. Stand with honor, live with gratitude, love with unity. Click the bell, share with someone who cherishes history's triumph. And let's honor the prayer that kneels, the nod that answers, the bond that shines in a veteran, a guard and a moment that made memory eternal.